What's going on, guys? Welcome on in. Lost $70 trading Netflix and Tesla. One was a break even, one was a loss. And let's get into the recap. Nothing, too crazy on this one, but we continue the streak. I have so far for the month of August. It's now the 14th. Now, I didn't trade for the entire second week. There was the first 2 days of August, and then there was the whole second week. I wasn't home. I have not had a winning trade in the entire month. Now, there's been 10 trades. It's been a couple break evens, and then there's been 4 break evens, and then there's been 6 losses, which is starting to get into territory that, would signal to me that as long as I just focus on the system and strategy, that makes sense to almost size up, because the probabilities of me continuing to lose like this are kind of low based off the past 16 months of data that I have. But then again, right, you can get in your head, the market might not realign with my strategy for, 2 more weeks, which then if you size up, you lose more. So there's nothing's changing, but sometimes you think that way. And it honestly, logically does make sense. Because I talk about, if you are going to size up, it actually makes more sense if you have data, like historically, you know what you're doing, to size up after you've had a losing streak versus sizing up, which most people would do. They size up after a long winning streak, which then leads to losing more money and then potentially spiraling. But that's besides the point of this video. So we have a Netflix long and a Tesla short. Now, this is kind of the problem. I think part of it was well, you went long and then short. So what are you doing? Shouldn't you have kind of a bias for the day based off of price action and then trade that way? Kind of. But Tesla was good bets short. I'll explain why. And Netflix was good bets long. You'll see why. So that's kind of really all it was. Let's dive into them. So I'm going to get into Netflix first, because that was the first trade that we took. And then we'll get into Tesla. So Netflix, I have my stuff still on the chart, so you can still see it. So give it a second to reload up on the 5-minute. Honestly, perfect setup, perfect situation in terms of what I'm looking for. Exactly what I want to see. Just didn't work. Simple as that. There's not a ton of craziness behind it. We were looking for about almost a 2-to-1 risk reward, to be honest. I was originally looking to stop out a little bit lower, so it was 1.5 initially. But I moved my stop up as the chart progressed. But I got it on the breakout over high of day. So I got it on this candle right here, which, looking back, hey, there's high volume on it. So it was not a bad, it did look good on the 5-minute. And then we just failed. Simple as that. Just failed and stopped out. So nothing crazy. But the more important part is kind of higher time frames. I could say that, yes, we were maybe a little bit overextended on the 4-hour chart, but at the same time, it wasn't that crazy. There were some bigger 4-hour candles the past couple of weeks anyway. What's more important is that I am trading in these areas and not these areas. That is what's more important to me. So when I look at the higher time frames, I see Netflix, one of the stronger large cap stocks on the day, which it still actually holds up to be right now as I'm speaking. It's up more than my entire large cap go-to list. So it's up the most. So you're playing with where the strength is if you're going long. So the long made sense. It's been strong the past couple of days. Yes, we are recovering from the dips that we saw last week or whatever, but sure. Okay, it's been up very nicely off those lows, and it's making some good strides. Actually, it's up $100 off the lows, making some good strides to the upside. Blah, blah, blah. We got a volume gap right in here. So I'm hey, I'm looking for a push up into the top of that gap, which will put us up towards the 670 area. And once we get there, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling. We have the trade, right? We're overextended. The best bets are in here. Best bets are in here in terms of price action, in terms of more momentum movement. So it made sense. There's this one I'm actually very happy with. I'm very happy with it. Lost $70. Okay, no big deal. These 2 trades were on a $10,000 account, just so you're familiar with the risk management and the risk reward. Which we'll get to that in a second, because that's actually kind of a little bit interesting. Then Tesla, here's where I jump out in the higher time frames, and I say to myself, were we in an okay spot? Not as good. The quality of this trade was not as good, in my opinion, than Netflix. We started to break down. We're one of the weaker stocks on the day. Google was weaker, but Google just was drilling, so it never provided a consolidation setup. Tesla did. So it was the second weakest stock on my large cap list on the day. I knew there was a good chance, or there were better bets, but once we got below 199, the bets, the probabilities start to diminish, because if you go back in time, you'll see we got a very high volume node right here. And that would put you to kind of like the breakout point of yesterday. So that's where my target was, 199, just north of the high volume node here. So I'm like, if we get a push down, I think that there's a good chance, or there's good bets down to that level. And then after that, I don't want to play that game. I'm not going to try to guess that we're going to go for more or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So Mark at the time, Tesla was showing relative weakness of the S&P, and I thought it was a good play. It still might work, and it did go my direction a good chunk. We were just literally like 80 cents shy of my target, which in this case, because it got more than halfway to my target, what do I do? I moved my stop loss to break even, hence why the trade became a break even trade, and we literally lost no money on it. We made no money on it. It might work, it might not. I don't really care, but if you jump over to the S&P, see how the S&P is now showing some really good strength, but Tesla is still not showing some good strength. It's kind of actually weak relative. So it still could be a good play, or it still could work in the grand scheme from the original, but that's not a momentum trade. And I trade momentum, and I don't want to start playing that game too much where I enter something and then, sitting on it for 17 hours when it should be, an hour max type of trade, So that's kind of the view on the 5-minute time frame. So that was Tesla. That's how you got the break even. I stopped out actually at 203. This is not the correct stop. I stopped out 203. That was my stop loss. So it was actually like almost a 2-to-1 risk reward. And you can see, well, let's go here. You can see the Netflix trade, the entry and exits there. And then you can see Tesla. Entry 201.69, exit 201.69. So those are those two guys. Now, what I want to mention, though, too, is an interesting piece. I'm slightly kind of, it's not worth thinking too much about, I think, right now, because it doesn't really matter, at least right now. But, so we have traded 4 days so far this month. It's the 14th, so we're like halfway through the month, pretty much. We got 2 more days this week, and then we have 2 full weeks. So we got a good amount of time to trade, I guess. There's a lot of opportunities potentially setting up the rest of the month, but you can see a lot of red. We do have 1 open position, which I may get out of because it doesn't look great for a small loss. Our current loss average is $73 on these losses, which is, in my view, very good. I mean, managing it pretty good because all my winners are over $100, no matter what account size, the 25K account or the 10K account. They're all going to be over $100. If they are not, then it was either a partial take profit, which I usually don't do, or I messed up somehow. So I think risk management is good, but where the things get a little bit interesting is as I jump over here to this account. Now, in the top right, you can kind of see current balance is 9,503. Our current equity 9,468 because I'm in one position, which is currently down $35. I'm risking like $80 on it. Yeah, $80. So I don't love it. Depends on how it closes or how we get towards the end of the day. If I will want to close it out today, because it's not respecting or not, it's not showing what I want to see so far. Doesn't mean the trade's over. It's respecting the levels and stuff, but it is what it is. By the way, Tesla's, as we speak, Tesla's just dropping back down. So maybe the trade ends up going to where I was originally looking for, but the path was not a momentum path. So currently right now, if I was to take this loss, I would be down on this account from the initial balance that I started with on this account of $10,000. Now, this is technically the 3rd account that I have with these guys because I passed phase 1. So you start with $10,000. You pass phase 1, passed it. They give me a new, fresh $10,000 account. I passed phase 2. Boom. So I made money on both those 2 accounts. Now, the 3rd account is the funded account. So here I am. I can now withdraw funds if I make money. Problem is, we have been in a red streak on this account. Well, obviously this month, but also if you go back to last month, I started the month good. I got the new account, and then I kind of had, not a losing streak, but like I had more losses than wins on the stock trade the second half of the month. So even though it was a green month last month, the stock trades were not as green as like the futures or the metals and whatnot, Bitcoin on the other account. So it's potentially possible now that if I were to lose 5 trades in a row, probably 6, I'd say, based on the way I'm managing risk. If I lost 6 in a row, which is a lot to stay after already having the amount of losses we've had so far. If I lost 6 in a row from here, we could lose this account. So it's an interesting question of what would you do or how do you manage that? I don't think there's a reason to change what I have been doing, but I'm wondering, you know, like, I wonder what I'm gonna do or how this is gonna play out. Obviously, if you go on a winning streak, the thing completely turns and it doesn't matter, and maybe you're in profit within 4 trades, you know. So who knows? But I think that's, I don't know. I'm not gonna try to think too much about it because at the end of the day, I didn't pay very much money for this account, but it would be a lot of time wasted to then have to redo the challenge, which is why if you were to get funded on a funded account, as long as it's like no weird rules where like they like move your like drawdown numbers up, you want to build a little bit of a cushion and then, you know, start pulling money out from there. So as we speak, I've yet to build the cushion. That's kind of the game plan. I was like, oh, you know, the next couple of months we'll try to build that cushion up and then we can kind of just, you know, buy the bigger account and go from there. But it is interesting. Either way, that's the update for today for the recaps. Losing $70, not a big deal on 2 trades. However, it starts to become a little bit more interesting when you look at the bigger picture and say, hey, we haven't had a winner so far in this month, which kind of sucks. But the bigger picture view for me, a couple mistakes, I think, yesterday and then the first day. So maybe you could have cut the P&L down a bit more in terms of how much I've lost. But the biggest thing, at least today, those 2 trades, I'll take them 100 times. I'll be happy to take them 100 times, and I'm happy with them. They were good, solid trades in my view. So that's kind of what I want this month to be about. Not necessarily about the dollar amount. It's more about the executions and the strategy, how I'm operating it. And if I operate this way, I think I'll be very good in just waiting for the market to realign or just some trades to work, which probabilities, ladies and gentlemen, probabilities. If you, in my view, you can get good, and there's a subjective side to this game, but a lot of people, the problem with a lot of the people who are in the space, and it's not like oh, look at me versus them. I'm not comparing. I don't care to compare. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I don't really want to do that. But what I've seen, at least in my experience, is a lot of people will only show the wins and they will not talk through mentally like this stuff. And I could be lying too. I could be telling you this right now and saying whatever I'm saying and lying and saying, and deep down, I'm going to go take 6 more trades after this, be a complete mental wreck, lose my shit. I could, and I guess I'm not going to do that. I'm telling you that. You have to believe me, I guess. But I could, but that is because I have lived it. I've lived it. So I know a lot of what you see. You don't get the true picture. Like you're just getting like a little piece to the puzzle. Maybe someone shows you a loss. Maybe they talk about how you should handle losses. But then behind the scenes, they close the computer down, they close the camera down, and they fucking cry or they fucking go do some dumb shit and they blow up another account. And they don't tell you about that account because they hide it. I could do the same thing. I definitely could. But I'm just trying to walk through mentally, at least, how I approach all this stuff, because it legitimately is such a probability game, and the game is not as much you versus, it's not you versus the market. It's a lot more of you versus you and managing your own emotions and how you handle things, and then using that to your advantage. So having an understanding of how you manage or how you look at things when you go on a red streak versus when you go on a green streak, right? It's very different. It's very easy for me to go, and I believe I am done for today unless something incredible sets up in the next couple of hours, but things based on what I'm seeing are going to take a while to set back up or to set up for something because a lot of the charts are choppy. But it's easy for me to go and lose a trade, you know, and then go look at this and go, oh man, I haven't had a winner in the month of August, and then go try to trade one more time. And then that one more time turns to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5. Next thing you know, you're blowing some stuff up. That is a problem I've had in the past. I haven't really gone down that spiral recently at all. But I think approaching things with a different mental view helps. And that's what I want. And that's kind of what I want these to be more about, because I'm literally, when I talk about this, like I'm literally talking to myself and how like as I'm talking right now, like I'm literally saying like, what did I do wrong here? What did I do right? And I don't think there was anything wrong with these trades. They were good. And yesterday's trades are a few recaps ago. There were some bad ones. But I think that talking through that is where the value actually lies versus like, check me out, I just made this much or I just lost this much. It's like that doesn't mean shit to me. It's like, how do you view it? Because you could have winners and you can have losers, but I could have a ton of losers. And so far, for the most part, I could have avoided some losses here. For the most part, I'm good with what I've lost. I'm happy with it because I've managed the shit well. Versus some winners, you might say, oh, wow, you made money. Well, did you actually make money or are you going to give it back because you did some dumb shit? Like objectively looking at the winners and saying, hey, like, was this to the strategy, to the plan? Did I manage this right? Did I do what I was supposed to do based on how I approach things in my system? If I didn't, then yeah, I made money and it's cool, but like that's not really like there's a very good chance I'm going to give that back at some point, and that's not my money. So hopefully that's helpful. I track everything with TradeZella right here. If you want to check them out, I'll link them below like always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.